Hello and welcome to the Fantasy Wildcard. I'll be your host this week, Matt. You can follow me on Twitter at MattFFDynasty. And today we've got a great show coming up with a great guest. But before we get to his brilliant guest, I might as well introduce his co-host first. And sadly, no Ali this week. But as always, we've always got the GOAT, the Dynasty _GOAT, Kev. So how you doing, mate? How's your day been?
Yep, doing very well. Thank you. It's been a short week, hasn't it? We only recorded a couple of days ago, but we've got a cracking show lined up. It's been a lot of focus this week on sort of the charity tournaments and stuff like that. So just sifting through all that, making sure that I'm paid up on everything and I've donated to everything, and looking forward to an interesting next month. So in all the charity events like Scottish Bowl and the FFC, Warrior Bowl, the JTT Cup as well. I make sure I don't miss anyone out, but
there's that many, Kev. It's hard to keep up, isn't it? I know they've all been coming through. We're all getting excited now to start drafting. So yeah, it's been quite fun, really, can't it? Getting prepared for all these drafts that are coming up. It's obviously draft season, so yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. But before we get on with today's show, Kev, do you just want to let everyone know about the streaming fun? Obviously, that was a couple of months ago, and the final results from it.
Yeah, so we've got a final figure, and we'd set a target of 1,500 for the charity streaming fun we did in May, which was significantly higher than his first year we did it, and really pleased to announce that we've smashed that 117% of us target. We finished up with raising £1,759.33 for Mind Charity, which is a fantastic amount. So I just want to give a big shout out to all the guests, anyone that donated, anybody that retweeted and gave it traction, and I know us three that we're hosting it, but we're really proud of what we've achieved and supporting mental health, which is obviously a massive part of all of our lives now. So just thank you to everyone that got involved and made us really proud.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a lot of fun, and it's obviously great that we've been able to raise such a great amount for a great cause. And as you say, a big thank you to all the guests, everyone that was jumping in the chats, everyone that's retweeted everything that we've put out. Obviously, you've been putting them out as podcasts as well, Kev. So yeah, just a big thank you to everyone that was involved in the day, really, and a fantastic result at the end of it. But with that, I think we might as well get on with today's show. As I say, we've got a great guest coming up. He's the co-host of the Dynasty Rewind podcast, a writer and contributor at Big Guy Fantasy, and also the chairman of the Van Jefferson fan club. We give a warm wildcard welcome to Phil Simmons, aka Pork, aka FF Porkman on Twitter. How you doing, Phil?
I'm doing great, man. I'm happy you guys brought me on today. I know you had Mike and Chev on for the streamathon. I know it was fun. Sorry I couldn't make that one, but I'm glad I was able to put some time aside for you guys. I know I see all this good stuff you guys are doing, so I had to give you a little bit of the time that I have and hop on with you guys on this wonderful Sunday.
No, we appreciate you giving us your time. And as we were talking before we started recording, it was a shame that we couldn't have you on stream fun, but instead it's better. We've got you all to ourselves now, Phil. We get to dive into a great topic today, and yeah, it's gonna be a lot of fun. So with that, on today's topic, we're going to be looking at the undervalued and the overvalued player, as chosen by our brilliant guest Phil, based upon the market data on Keep Trade Cut. So without further ado, we might as well crack straight on with the show. We're going to start with your undervalued quarterback, Phil. Who have you got?
Today I'm going to bring to you Matt Ryan. Just due to I think people are looking at his age too much at a certain point and seeing that he is 37 years old. He's going to a new team with a whole lot of better weapons, with his receivers wise. I know this, we saw what happened with the Calvin Ridley situation when he bet, and he won't be playing at all. But it seemed like the offense was in flux. The offensive line was a little jacked up. They didn't have a really consistent running game. Now he's going to the Indianapolis Colts with a Michael Pittman, who's going to be wide receiver 1 on that team. He has an Alec Pierce, who I like, who's a rookie. He's probably going to be wide receiver 2. And hopefully, for God's sakes, Paris Campbell can stay healthy and play in the slot, because he has all the talent in the world. But when it comes to his injury history, it just never comes about. But I think if he's able to play at least a 12 or 13 game season, I think that gives him a really good outlook on the season. So if you see the weapon that he has, and I didn't name one on purpose that he also has, which is a Jonathan Taylor, who he can throw him the ball out of the backfield, That's something that Matt Ryan hasn't had in a very long time. A really good running back out the backfield that can help him out with the passing game. He can play on third down. He can block as well. And then and if he's not on the field too, there's also a Naeem Hines who can really play really good on third downs. So with all these weapons and having Matt Ryan as the QB 28 on Keep Jerry Cut, I kind of think it's disrespectful. We're starting to see quarterbacks play a lot longer. I'm not saying he's comparing himself to Tom Brady, but Tom Brady's 45 years old. Matt Ryan is 37 years old, and he still has a whole lot left in the tank. He throws for 4,000 yards every season. He's going to give you at least 25 touchdowns or 25 30 touchdowns a season. That's going to help you out. I know with fantasy, we're sometimes stuck too much on the rushing upside of things, but if you give somebody a pocket like a Joe Burrow's not running you out the gym, but Joe Burrow's a good quarterback. Justin Herbert's a great quarterback. They're all pocket quarterbacks. So if we can, get him out of the quarterback 28, I'd rather have Matt Ryan over Davis Mills, Daniel Jones, who's right in front of him, which is supremely disrespectful. Ryan Tannehill as well. I'm taking Matt Ryan over those guys. I'm not taking Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones stinks, in my opinion. I don't think he's good at all. And he has one weapon, which is Kadarius Toney at this point. Kenny Galladay I don't want to talk about him. He pissed me off.
Yes, you're not the only one, Phil.
I think he's going to be good. He pissed a lot of people off. With me for sure.
Yeah, no, I'm fully on board with Matt Ryan as a value at QB 28. I've got him QB 23. Yeah, he is a vanilla QB, but you know exactly what you're getting from him when you're sort of looking in dynasty beyond sort of QB 15. There is often doubts about job security, but actually Matt Ryan, he's someone that's moved teams. He's got a contract that's going to keep him secure for a couple of years, but that's just with the Colts. I can see him playing for 4 or 5 years if he does end up moving to another team. He's been a great QB his whole career. I think he's the ideal QB3 if you're going for one of these sophomore QBs as a QB2, like a Trey Lance, a Trevor Lawrence, or Justin Fields. It just gives you that safety that if they don't become what you expect, then you're still going to have a QB2 in Matt Ryan rather than gambling on someone that maybe got a higher ceiling in Daniel Jones, but actually the chance of him hitting that are very slim. So I love it at QB 28.
No, definitely. I think, like you both said, really, he's just such a safe quarterback to have. I've just been briefly looking while I've been talking, and he's only not been a QB1 three times out of the last 12 years, I believe. So even still at his age, putting up those low-end QB1 numbers, high-end QB2 numbers, and if you can get him as that QB2, like touched upon at that QB 28 value, yeah, I think he's a definite value. I've got him 26 at the minute, just looking at my rankings. Maybe need to nudge him up a few spots after what you guys have said. Yeah, it's just another one of those really solid QB2s that you can have, and just makes you feel comfortable by itself. You don't need that upside all the time at your QB2 spot. Sometimes you just need that safe quarterback, and Matt Ryan's that.
Steady. Yeah, and absolutely. To me, I think he just hasn't had a steady running back since the Devontae Freeman in the Super Bowl, which seems like eons ago. So I mean, if you give him a guy like that can help him out, a running game will help you out immensely. So I think 28 to me is this. I think that's way too low.
Decent
a good running back. Yeah, it's going to take a lot of pressure off Matt Ryan in it, which is going to be a positive because, like Polk said, we know that he's a great pocket passer. So yeah, great selection there at the quarterback position, Phil. So we'll now move on to your undervalued running back. Who have you got here?
I got Miles Sanders. I know I'm probably fanboying a little bit, but I think last year was just an anomaly season. He had no touchdowns, but I think it was a transition from an offense, Nick Sirianni run offense, to where it seemed like he just wanted to throw the ball a lot, but then when he realized he needed to run the ball, that's when Miles Sanders, thinks he just wasn't comfortable yet. He had a lot of fumbling issues. And then they started to do a platoon, so it was a lot of Boston Scott and Jordan Howard was there. So I think this year, when another year in the system, we all know he's a home run hitter. He's a good runner between the tackles, and he can catch the ball. I know his rookie year he had over 50 catches. Last 2 years, I think he only had 26. But again, I think it's just more of a it was ending an era and then it's beginning an era. Trying to understand the offense and where he fits in and trying to stay healthy. So I think Miles Sanders can give you a solid running back 2 seasons. I'm not going to go crazy and say he's going to be a running back 1. I just need to see him have a little bit more of a volume in that offense. And with Jalen Hurts also developing in that offense as well, we see how he can run. So we always try to target those running backs who have running quarterbacks as well, because they open up holes on the offensive line. So we see how fast Miles Sanders is. So I think at RB30, I think that's just based off of his no touchdowns having last year. So I think this year he better have more than 0. That was disrespectful. But I think he had 6 1 year where he had played really, really well that year. So I would go for close to 1,000 yards and maybe at least 6 or 7 touchdowns this year based off of what happened. Not based off of what happened last year, but based off of how he can be integrated in the offense more and be trusted more by the coaching staff.
Yeah, I mean, if Philly are going to win the Super Bowl, which they will, then he's got to score more than 0 touchdowns. I
hope he do. Shoot,
I can see the Lombardi Trophy behind you, Park. So
yeah. I need that. That's my fantasy football. I got a flaunt a little bit. That's my fantasy football trophy. I just put it in the corner. I don't get too many, but when I get one, I get the trophy.
No, I love that. It's like me as an Eagles fan. Obviously, we've only ever got one ship, so we've got to talk about it whenever we can. But it really sucks me with Miles Sanders. I always had him really higher than Josh Jacobs. That was always the debate, sort of early on in his career. I've got him slightly lower than 30 in my rankings, but it's that same tier for me. I think it's roundabout right. I think his ceiling is pretty decent, actually. It was disappointing how he was used in that first year under Sirianni. The fact that it was a freeway backfield, and I know Sanders has got the talent to be a cracking running back in dynasty. My concerns with him is, does he play a bit part role again this year? If he's going to move in free agency, where does he go? He's coming. If you think of the rookie class coming in next year at running back, it's super strong. So if you could guarantee me there's a commitment to Miles Sanders in Philly getting 60% of the work, I'd be all in at running back 30 because I think it's a cracking value. But it's just that concern of, was last year him getting integrated, or is it the plan to rotate 3 running backs, which would be a shame because I think he has got that potential. I mean, we talk about running backs on sort of teams where the QBs are Russia. If he had a J.K. Dobbins type season and got a bit of touchdown luck, J.K. Dobbins is in his range of outcomes if everything fell right for him.
Yeah, no, we've seen the upside, haven't we? In his rookie season, finishing RB14, we know the potential's there. You see flashes of it every now and again. It's just a shame, like you say, Kev, that he's been used in that running back by committee really these last couple of seasons. But we know that the talent's there. We've seen it. We've seen the upside. So yeah, if he can get a little bit more of a stronger workload, if he can take over, be the 1A in this backfield, if it is a split backfield, if he can at least be the lead back in this offense, and like Port touched upon, people sometimes think that having a rushing quarterback's a bad thing. They're going to steal these goal line carries, get these rushing touchdowns, but like Port said, it opens up those lanes. It's the reason why I love J.K. Dobbins as well. It just creates a lot of opportunities for these running backs. That what you lose out on touchdowns, you tend to find you gain a lot more in terms of how they can run the ball for the rest of the game. So now I absolutely love Miles Sanders. The upside's there, and at RB30, I think, to be honest, I've got him 27, so I'm not a million miles away from where he's currently ranked, but I fully agree that the upside is right up there with the best of them that you can get around that RB30 range. So yeah, another really solid selection, Phil. I mean, kind of a homer pick, you and Kev. I feel like I've been double teamed here by the Philly gang, so can't say too many bad things about Miles Sanders. But
no, that's not good. I can't make it over to you anyway. I'm too far away.
So no, a great selection at running back, and we might as well now move on to the wide receiver. So who have you got here, Phil?
I have Mike Evans only because he's undervalued every year, and I didn't put it in the show sheet, but the other undervalued has to be Brandon Cooks because he's undervalued every year. I don't want to, elaborate on that too much, but Brandon Cooks is undervalued every year. So if you can get him, just try to get him whatever you can. But Mike Evans, he gets you 1,000 yards every year. what don't you like about the guy? He still has Tom Brady. It's confusing to me. I think people are enamored with age in this case. But he's only 28. Receivers last a long time, and with a guy like Mike Evans giving you 1,000 yards every single year of his career, he gives you 12 touchdowns, what, 4 times out of his career, and he's been playing at a high clip every single year. And the other 2 years, he's at 8-8, and then he had a 5-3 touchdown season. But after all those seasons, he still had 1,000 yards, and he gets you the receptions. I think people are still enamored with how good Chris Godwin is, which he's really good too. But with Mike Evans at wide receiver 22, there's a whole bunch of guys that, again, I'm going to take ahead of him. Like, I know Treylon Burks, he's a rookie, but he's also having issues with him getting on the field in practice already. I'm not taking a Treylon Burks over Mike Evans in any draft for me personally. And there's another guy that we'll talk about later who's looks like he's eons ahead of him, who's also a rookie, that I'm not taking him over Mike Evans. So he's giving you constant production every year. And I'm not really sure what more he has to do for fantasy players to not see that he's not going to give you a quality season year after year. Now I understand sometimes I think maybe like a year or two, he's not giving you consistent week to week production, but he's still going to give you some sort of production to have on my team and have over some of the guys that's ahead of him in these rankings on Keep Trade Cut for me personally.
Yeah, you've smashed it with Mike Evans. I've got him 17. Keep Trade Cut's got him 22. So I'm above on him. I think he's on a Hall of Fame trajectory. He's the alpha in a Tom Brady offense. Tom Brady's probably going to throw 40, 45 touchdowns. Even if he's at 20, 25%, that's 8 to 10 as his floor. So, love Mike Evans. There is that boom bust side to it, but as a back end wide receiver too, you've got to have some ceiling in your wide receiver one on your team. Or if you fade wide receiver early in your drafts and he is your wide receiver one, you're still really happy because he's giving you boom weeks, and you're not going to win ships by just getting 10, 12 points a week. You've got to have them boom weeks as well. So I think he's an ideal guy to go after. I think you can get a nice. Personally, I think wide receiver 22, I don't feel that in my leagues. I think that people do seem to be lower on him because of his age. But we just got to go with what the market says. Wide receiver 22 is a great value in my eyes. So, it's also funny that Ali's not here because he's a massive Bucks fan, and we get to gush about a Bucks player and he's not here. So, make sure you wear some sun cream next time, Ali.
Yeah, I'll definitely be good that he's missed out talking about Mike Evans, but no, fully agree. Like you said, Kev, he can be a bit boom bust, but then again, like Phil says, he's just constantly putting up those low end wide receiver 1, high end wide receiver 2 numbers. So the fact that you can get him wide receiver 22, which is a late wide receiver 2, you might be able to pick him up as your wide receiver 3. Then absolutely brilliant person to select. My only one concern that I do have with Mike Evans is Tom Brady. The fact it seems every year we seem to see, is this the last year with Tom Brady? And I do just worry that when Tom goes, what happens to this Bucks offense, and in turn what happens to Mike Evans? But based on what we've seen, I mean, the guy's just so reliable in terms of fantasy production, and then just a really solid wide receiver to have. Basically, I don't think you can pick too many faults in him. Just be a little bit nice if it wasn't so boom bust. But just looking into next year as well, the fact that Godwin's obviously coming off that injury, I feel like Mike Evans is going to get a lot of opportunities to start the year at least. So just looking at it from a redraft perspective, a win now perspective, I don't think you can get a better wide receiver than a Mike Evans at wide receiver 22. So yeah, another great pick, Phil. You've got 3 out of 3 so far. So we'll have to move.
Best, man.
I mean, I've just seen who the tight end is, so this is where it could start getting shaky, Phil. So do you want to let everyone know who your tight end selection is?
All right, so this one might be a little bit controversial. I don't know if I hit 4 for 4, but for me, it's Bob Tyan from the Green Bay Packers. I know last year he freaking stunk, and it kind of hurt a lot of people who were trying to get tight ends late in drafts. But in 2020, he did have 52 receptions for 586 yards and 11 touchdowns, and 11.3 yards per catch. Now, last year, I understand he did get injured. He only played in 8 games. But when he did play in those 8 games, his average per catch was still 11.3, and he had 18 receptions for 204 yards. So the way I'm looking at it is that he was kind of on the same clip for the yardage and the receptions perspective of what he was doing during his good years, but he didn't get the touchdown clip because he did miss those 8 games. Now there's no Devontae Adams, obviously, which is missing, I don't know, 450 targets a season. So plus or minus, but he's gone. Marquez Valdez-Scantling is gone. You bring in a rookie Christian Watson, and you have a second year Amari Rodgers, and Sammy Watkins.
Yeah.
Do I really want to trust Sammy Watkins at this point? You get what I'm saying? Every year, Sammy Watkins is going to hit. He had that 1 year in Buffalo, and then I don't know, like his talent got taken away, like Space Jam. Like he's just not. He's not that good anymore. So I think he's going to rely on at this point. I think he's going to rely on a lot of Aaron Jones, somebody he's more familiar with, and a ton of Robert Tyan if he could stay healthy. So I think him at tight end 25. I'd rather have him than an Evan Ingram. I'd rather have him than a Tyler Higbee for sure. Because I'm definitely not a Tyler Higbee fan. And then another guy that we'll talk about later as well. So nice. Yeah, give me a Robert Tyan with an Aaron Rodgers all day, and if he can get on that not the same clip, because 11 touchdowns is a lot. But if you give me like an 8 or 7 touchdown season with 500, 600 yards, he's going to be a tight end 1. We see how the tight end landscape in fantasy happens. You really don't have to do that much, but if you can get those select few late and load up on your receivers and your running backs and drafts, I think of tight end 4 they have from here now. That's kind of disrespectful for me. Or tight end 3, I'm sorry. It's just kind of disrespectful to me.
Yeah, I mean, I'm finding it hard to argue for like the tight end 25, because like after the first, I don't know, 5 or 6, it's kind of yeah, whatever. But
yeah.
But like with Tonyan, I guess Aaron Rodgers, you've got touchdown upside. If you can get 8, we'll say, out rather than 11, then he's gonna put himself at a chance at the tight end 1, because it is a mess. You'd have to do a lot to get into that top 12. I have got him below tight end 25, but I'll be honest, like in my rankings, I don't put too much thought into my tight end 20s. It's kind of like, he sounds good. We'll play him there.
I don't either, Kev. Like at the point that you get to like 12 and it's like, just play Russian roulette with the names and just pick him.
But yeah, I think, would I be shocked if he was a low end tight end 1? Probably not. But again, I'm probably not going to be caping up and taking him at tight end 25. It's just one of those where I tend to go tight end early, and then if not, maybe take a dart on a younger guy, or maybe someone that would come on to later on.
Maybe. No, but I think my view on Tonyan, a little bit like you said, really, we're at that range, aren't we, in tight ends, where it's just basically a pick 'em. You can take a dart throw at any of these guys, and you don't really know what's going to happen. But I think with someone like Tonyan, we could maybe see some kind of Dawson Knox, what he did last year, obviously with the touchdowns. Didn't really have too much in terms of the reception and receiving yards, but using the red zone. I mean, the only guy really that they've got is Alan Lazard now that you'd say could be a target in the red zone. So I feel like Tonyan. Sure. Yeah, so I feel like Tonyan could be the one that takes that step forward and to be that red zone target. So with that, as I say, he could maybe have that Dawson Knox kind of season. So while I do love it in terms of that, I think long term I'm not too excited by him. As I say, we've yet to really see him put together a really solid year. Obviously, that big season he has, a lot of it was down to the touchdowns, a little bit like Dawson Knox again last year. So well, I'm not super excited by it, as I say. I think in this range, where you're picking these tight ends, it's kind of just a pick 'em, and I mean, Tonyan's someone that can get you those touchdowns. So who knows? Maybe even just if it increases his value off a solid season this year, you can you can easily move off a little bit like again with what you can do with Dawson Knox.
I bet you love that Igby slander, didn't you, Matt?
Oh, I absolutely. I had to try and restrain myself from jumping in and saying, can we talk a little bit about Tyler Higbee and how terrible he is? So
I love myself some Dawson Knox, by the way. That was my swan song when he started doing good. I was insufferable when he started scoring.
I remember he was my late dart throw in the Scott Fish Bowl last year as well. I mean, the rest of my roster was absolutely terrible, but I managed to pick out Dawson Knox, so I feel good about that at least. But no, brilliant. I think we can say 3.5. Can we say that Kev there that he got? I think we're kind
really
of
good effort.
Yeah,
I mean, it's Philly in it, so we'll give him 4.
Absolutely. But now we're going to go onto the overvalued guys, and I think there could be maybe a couple in here, Phil, that we might disagree on. So we're going to kick things off, obviously, at the quarterback position. Who's your overvalued quarterback?
Oh boy. So my overall quarterback is Tua Tagovailoa. I know he isn't the most like quarterback, but I think in fantasy purposes, I think after he's seen that he's gotten a new innovative coach that we're not really sure how good he'll be yet. Got Tyreek Hill, got Jalen Waddle on the team already. But the thing that I've been having the issue with Tua from college is that he just all I see is drop back, one read and throw. I haven't technically really seen him drop back, make a good throw after looking at all of his options in the field. And I've seen a terrible interception last year. I saw it on Twitter, I think a couple days ago. He just literally threw it to the defender with no other offensive player around him. So I think for me, Tua is overvalued. Just due to his age, I think they see that he's young. There is some type of potential there, because we've seen some stuff in Alabama, but Alabama was an NFL team. They gave him the best route runners. They gave him the best speed players, and they just said, throw slants and go. And that's all I've seen. And I haven't seen anything in the NFL for me otherwise to put him in a high-end quarterback 2 for me. So there's some quarterbacks that I'm not going to say Matt Ryan, because I love Matt Ryan. I just don't know how long he's going to be playing. But it's just I would rather have Aaron Rodgers, to be honest with you. They have Aaron Rodgers at QB 18 and Tua dropped down to 16. But I'd rather have an Aaron Rodgers, a Kirk Cousins for sure. For me, those two jump out on the board for me as somebody that's more consistent week to week, and the stuff that I've seen them do in prior seasons to show that I don't think Tua is going to finish higher than those 2 quarterbacks in particular.
Yeah, I loved Tua in college. You were my QB1. Not afraid to say that. I had him above Herbert and Burrow, so that looks a bit daft now, but never mind.
I had Burrow 1, Herbert 2, and
look at this!
Look at Herbert 2.
Look at this little humble pep.
I had Hurt. No, but I had Hurts 3 and then 2 or 4, and people was looking at me like I was a goofball. I was like, well, I really don't like him, but Hurts isn't the best right now. I hope he is, but well, I'll let you finish, Kev. I'm sorry.
Oh, it's good. I think when I was watching Tua in college, I thought, like, obviously the sporting cast was amazing, but I felt he had shades of Drew Brees, and Drew Brees really shone when he had an elite offensive line in front of him. That's really when he sort of stood out for New Orleans, because he was a short QB and such an accurate guy in the short and intermediate. And I think there is potential that Tua's going to have a lot better offensive line. Terran Armstead came over from the Saints. The weapons there in place now with Tyreek Hill, so it is really make or break time for Tua. Maybe this one read and throw is to do with how much pressure he was feeling, but yeah, I agree with you. He is overvalued at QB 15. I think from a real life point of view, I'm still confident, but for Dynasty, I'm sort of out on him. I have got a little bit of exposure just in case he does hit, and it'll give a window to move off in the future. But I just think with the Konami QB era, Tua's not really shown that. He has scored a few touchdowns on the ground since he's come back, but yeah, will he ever be a QB1 consistently? I personally can't see it, so I have to sell off the hype at QB 15. And yeah, I completely agree. Aaron Rodgers going behind him is insane.
Yeah, I'm a little bit like yourself, Kev. Obviously, I was right there with you, having him as my QB1 in that class, and looking back, it doesn't look great. And I just find it really tough with Tua, because when you just look back over the 2 seasons that he last played, I feel like as a rookie he was kind of thrown in at the deep end, weren't he, that year? Obviously, it was when Fitzpatrick had that, well, he was struggling, I think, did even have an injury, and then Tua was kind of just thrown in a tough stretch of games and didn't really get the easiest of introductions to the NFL. And then last year, just look at the weapons that he has. Basically had nobody he did last year to throw to. Obviously, Waddle being there was a huge relief from him, and we saw how much he relied on that connection that obviously they built together in college. So I still feel like there might be something that we've yet to see from Tua, and the fact now, obviously, that they seem to be going all in, giving him all the weapons that he needs. And this does feel like that kind of make or break year. We've seen the rumors that they were linked to guys like Deshaun Watson, looking at other quarterbacks. So there's definitely warning signs there when it comes to Tua, and that's something you've got to bear in mind in terms of dynasty. And then, like you both said, what is actually the upside with Tua? We need to hope that these weapons produce for him, because he's not one of these Konami code quarterbacks that can put up the huge rushing numbers. And as you said, Kev, there's lots of young quarterbacks coming into the league that can give you that elite level of upside in fantasy. So well, it is tough. I do want him to succeed. There's definitely some warning signs that we've seen already, and this does kind of feel like that make or break season for Tua, and I feel like he's really got to take a step forward. But fully agree with what you said, Phil. I feel like that QB 15 is definitely guys that are going later than him on keep trade cut that I'd take over Tua, that feel much safer, that have shown it year after year. It's kind of wishful thinking with Tua, hoping that it can be something, whereas there's those quarterbacks behind him that we already know what they've got. So I think we're with you on the quarterback pick. Kev, have you got something else to say there?
Yeah, I was just going to say, it's crazy how like Tua and Jalen Hurts, they seem to have like been on this same pathway almost identical. They're both at Alabama. They both came out as prospects with question marks. Obviously, injury with Tua, and obviously Hurts fell to round 2. And then you look at where they are now. They're both still got questions about the future, but the teams that they're on believe in them long term.
Yeah.
But you've got Jalen Hurts, who's probably, well, he's definitely got higher upside than Tua. They're both probably 50-50 to have the job with the current team. So, yeah, I'd be having Hurts over Tua, which it does pain me to say, because I'm a huge Tua fan and not a huge Hurts fan. And I know your co-host Mikey's also not a huge Tua, huge Hurts fan.
Intolerable sometimes. I'm like, you don't have to say it every time. But no, I understand. I understand the not to get off topic, but I understand why he doesn't like Hurts right now. But I think sometimes some quarterbacks need more help with development. Just give him like one more year. If he doesn't have it this year, then you can move on, because you got the first round pick that you can take a high end quarterback in this nice 2023 class. But give him a shot. I mean, you go from, he got thrown into the fire with Doug, and then he learned a new system with Sirianni. Give him a second year in the offense. Let him work on his mechanics, and I think he can do something. And he got weapons now. Something Carson never had. Carson never had weapons. Now Jalen got some weapons. Let's see what he does with AJ Brown, Devontae Smith, Dallas Goedert, Miles Sanders, the aforementioned Miles Sanders. Like these are guys now. Let's see what he can do.
Love that. I love how we're talking about Tua, and the 2 Eagle fans managed to turn their attentions towards
Yeah, it just happens. This is natural.
That was my fault.
Love it. Love it. So before you to get too carried away and start reeling off every Eagles player and how great they're going to be for fantasy, we'll move on to your overrated running back, Phil. Who have you got?
Overvalued for me, I think it's just a slam dunk for me personally, is Travis Etienne. We haven't seen anything totally yet from him because he had the injury, but I think that's a red flag too. He did have that big injury last year that kept him out for the whole season. I think it was a Liz Frank, and I felt bad for the guy. But at the end of the day, he's coming back this year. Apparently, he's healthy. And I've heard some news last week that James Robinson is coming back a little bit earlier than expected as well. As a pure running back, I think they should have a James Robinson back there more than a Travis Etienne. I know people were totally enamored with his speed, his straight line speed. But the thing that I saw in college that bothered me a little bit is that that's all he had was straight line speed. I didn't see any secondary moves in the secondary part of the field once he gets past the linebackers. So I think that will become an issue, but we can cross that bridge at that time. The part that I see that he's overvalued at is that he's ahead of J.K. Dobbins, who he has at an RB12. And Travis Etienne is RB9 on here right now. I know they both coming back from injuries, but J.K. Dobbins is a lot better than a Travis Etienne. I'll take a Saquon Barkley at this point, because Saquon Barkley is another value. He's undervalued in my opinion at an RB13.
Crazy.
It's a new offense. It's Doug Peterson going there. This is his first year implementing this offense with Trevor Lawrence, but they have no receivers, so they're probably going to have to run the ball at this point. And I don't think Travis Etienne is going to give you an RB8 season with a James Robinson there, because at that point it's going to be a committee. And I don't know if anybody want to make a bet with this, but James Robinson is going to have a better year than Travis Etienne if they're both healthy.
Ooh.
James Robinson is a quality running back. He's a quality running back, and he keeps getting disrespected because he was undrafted. But the guy ran for 1,000 yards in his rookie year when nobody expected him, and he had to deal with Urban Meyer's dumb self. I'm about to curse on here. I don't want to do that, but he's an idiot. He's over here playing Carlos Hyde over him. James Robinson is a good freaking running back. So if he's healthy, I think he's going to be the first and second down, and then they might put Travis Etienne as a third down back, or they probably put Travis Etienne as a slot receiver, as they talked about last year, because they want to catch him. They want to get this guy in space. But I don't think that makes him an RB1 on the season, especially over a J.K. Dobbins, who's probably going to be healthy at the beginning of the season. I don't see that, or a Saquon Barkley, who's going to trust his knee 100% now. So I think that's egregious. I think that's just a name thing for me personally, and me personally, I cannot do that at all.
I mean, when I first saw the name Travis Etienne on here, I was a bit pumped up actually. I was like, bloody hell, Travis Etienne, I like the guy. Early on in the offseason, back in January, I think I said he would be someone that I can see his value rising a hell of a lot, but I didn't think it'd rise this fast. I think RB8 is overvalued. When he was running back 16, 17, I was comfortably above consensus, because I like the fact that he's got familiarity with Lawrence. That Doug Peterson did a great job in Philly with the O-line in particular. So I think there's a lot of upside there, but there is a lot of risk, especially with the injury, with how the offense performed last season. Is it going to be a quick turnaround? Probably not. But yeah, running back 8, it's too much for me, unfortunately. Again, but yeah, you've nailed it. Just not over the J.K. Dobbins for me. I don't see it upside as much with Dobbins.
I'm a J.K. Dobbins lover. I'm an Ohio State fan as well, and I know how good he was. And if he comes back 100%, that's disrespectful. I would swap the two, me personally, and probably have Etienne a little bit lower. That's how much I just don't. I think it was just the Etienne love that I saw on Twitter that made me not like him even more.
Yeah. Once we're getting overhyped, you play the other side.
That's it. Yes, I'll definitely play the other side. Hey, do it. Draft him. Like I'm not touching him.
No, to be honest, Kev, I was a bit like yourself when I saw that Phil put Travis Etienne. I was like, no, I'm not having this. I can't talk bad about Travis Etienne, because like yourself, I love the potential upside there. We know the connection that he's got with Trevor Lawrence, obviously at Clemson. We know the upside in terms of what you can do in the receiving game. So if you're playing those PPR leagues, I feel like there's definite upside there with Etienne. But like you said, Kev, the fact that he's RB8, RB9 couldn't keep trade cut, that is overvalued. I think, like you said, when he was around that RB16, RB15, I was more than happy to jump on him at that price, but now it just seems that the hype is building and building, and it's crazy to think that he's come in as a rookie, missed his entire rookie season, and I think his value's gone up somehow. He's managed to somehow gain value in a year, so it's absolutely crazy. We've yet to even see him on the field. So while we know that, we like to think that there's some upside there with ETN, it's still all guesswork at the minute. We've yet to actually see him play a snap in the NFL. So at that price, RB8, RB9, that does feel too rich for me. So I hate to admit it, Phil, but I think you've nailed that one, even though I absolutely love Travis Etienne, I feel is a little bit overvalued right now. But we'll now move on to your wide receiver who you think is currently overvalued as well.
Currently, I believe Drake London is supremely overvalued. To have him one spot under Devontae Adams and one spot over Tyreek Hill and 4 spots over DJ Moore for a wide receiver who's going to purgatory because they freaking stink right now. They don't have anybody. They have literally no really good running back other than like a Cordell Patterson, or they got somebody, Tyler Algier, which again, nobody. Sorry, Tyler, but but they also have a new quarterback in the offense. I know he's run the offense before, and Marcus Mariota with the new head coach, but I don't really. He was a backup for a reason. We saw him come in for Derek Carr a couple times. He looked good the one game, and then he tried to slide and tore his ACL. He didn't. He's getting older, and he's not giving what I think people think Drake London is because he was the first quarterback taken in the draft. I just don't understand why going so high for him. So I think it's just Atlanta. I don't see them. I know they're going to be behind a lot, but then again, I think the junior year in USC, Drake London, he didn't do anything for me. Like tape didn't pop or anything. There was lack of separation. He just didn't look too good for me. Senior year, the next year he played really, really well. He showed a little bit more separation in his routes, showed a little bit more burst, but then he hurt his ankle. And I think that hurt that for me because I didn't think he was going to be able to come back. He did come back. But I think dealing with the Mariota, dealing with the Desmond Ridder, because I'm not really the biggest Desmond Ridder fan. He was just supremely inaccurate in college, me personally. So if you have two inaccurate quarterbacks throwing you the ball, I don't think that's going to get you to a high-end wide receiver too. And he's a young guy. I understand that's why he's higher, but over DJ Moore, who's 25. I know Drake London's 20, so he must have came out when he was a junior. So his sophomore year I didn't like, but his junior year I like. DJ Moore, Deontay Johnson, Michael Pittman, Tyreek Hill, Chris Godwin, Terry McLaurin. No, there's no possible way for me. No, it's, and I feel like I'm pooping on him because I like the prospect. I love the prospect, but as a wide receiver 15, he has to be a wide receiver 3 for me, like maybe the 24-25 range over the supreme talent that we see. I think people are also trying to base it off of volume that he's going to have because they're losing, but can they get him the ball? I'm not really sure. It's the Mariota and Ridder thing, and Cordell Patterson, who's a running back, wide receiver, tight end, linebacker, safety. He's everything for that team.
Yeah, to be honest, like who's going to get him the ball is an absolute terrible fit with Mariota and Ridder. They need guys open to throw rather than someone who wins late on the route like Drake London. So I think they're a terrible fit for him, which means he's probably going to have a poor rookie season in my eyes. Yeah, he might get some volume, but 120 targets from Mariota and Ridder is probably about 80 targets from a normal QB. So. And there's also got that up and coming tight end wide receiver over in Atlanta. I'm not sure if you've heard of Kyle Pitts, tight end winning dynasty. So I love this. I love fading rookie wide receivers in this class in startups, especially at that price, wide receiver 15. absolutely crazy for me. I think there is potential there, but give me the proven guys. Give me Mike Evans. Give me plenty of other guys you mentioned over Drake London, Burks, and Wilson. I think you can clump them all together and say they are all going too early in startups in my eyes.
Yeah, no, I think I'm a little bit like what Phil said. Really, even if you absolutely love Drake London as a prospect, you're kind of just taking a punt that he's going to get all this value, and that's going to give him that wide receiver 15 value, because otherwise it's just a crazy high value to have him at wide receiver 15. I mean, the guys that Port just listed off, guys like Devontae Adams, DJ Moore going late, and these are all guys that have produced year after year in the NFL, and you want to take a chance on a rookie that's going to be playing with basically two backup quarterbacks, don't even have a solid quarterback to start the year. And then obviously there's Kyle Pitts over there who's going to be taking some of those targets away. So even though he's going to be seeing targets, how accurate are the targets going to be? And then the fact that Pitts is there as well. I just feel like it's going to be really hard for Drake London to keep that wide receiver 15 value this time next year. And as I say, I feel like you're just taking a punt that he's going to see such an incredible amount of volume that he's going to be able to put up solid numbers, and for me that just feels far too risky. I'd rather take the proven wide receiver guy like DJ Moore, like you said, Phil, that's 25 years old. There's still 6, 7, 8 years of production out of somebody like DJ Moore. So why take the chance on an unproven guy when you can have somebody that's proven and puts up the yard year after year? So fully agree with you that the price that Drake London's at is definitely overvalued. So yeah, another one that you've nailed there, Phil, and we're going to move on to the last position, the tight end position. And this one, I know for a fact from one of us, you're going to get a bit of knockback. But who's your overvalued tight end?
Overvalued tight end is David Njoku. It's just something that I think I'm just tired of waiting, and it's been one of those things where he's been in the league for 5 years, and we've seen nothing. Some seasons we've seen something, and it's just I'm just over it. And then now there's no there's probably going to be no Deshaun Watson for maybe the full year, maybe the half year. Lord knows what they're decided doing. I think there's something discussed this week. But when it comes to David Njoku, he's going to have Jacoby Brissett. Am I going to trust Jacoby Brissett to get the ball to where it needs to go for half the season? Probably not. I like him as a, he's a backup quarterback. He's solid. He gets the job done. But am I going to want to take him as a tight end 17 on the team? Probably not. The guy's a supreme talent. I just don't know what he can do to put it together. I know he's got a big contract. He got his money, which is confusing as crap to me because I thought they were going to trade him. I thought they were going to cut him, and then they give him a long-term deal. So when it comes to him, when it's valued per se, I know Zach Ertz is 6 years older than him, but I think I'd rather have a Zach Ertz over a David Njoku or even the Robert Tyan. I know that sounds wild to other people.
Crazy.
Or even, I know this one, I'm not even going to say that name. But I'll say it, but it's not really, I think it's going to be close. But I love a Gerald Everett, me personally. I think going to the Chargers, there's no Jared Cook, and we saw what Jared Cook did with a good Justin Herbert, and I think he just fits right in that spot. But I think David Njoku, I'm just tired of waiting what he's going to see. It was a 6-year breakout at tight end. Usually at the third year, he's taking way too long to give me week to week starts that I'm looking for in a tight end position, because I need some type of consistency in that type of position for me. And I'm just tired of waiting. I know he's talented, but for some reason the quarterbacks aren't. Well, we sell Baker said he wasn't really that accurate because OBJ just left and won the Super Bowl. But Njoku to me is just somebody that I think I've got Njoku fatigue, and I know he's good. I don't want to draft him anymore on my fantasy teams.
I can understand it because he flashed it early young. He was a top 8, top 9 tight end, even second or third year in the league. And
like I said, wow, he has top 5 tight end talent. but the floor is too low for me to even think about putting him on my team. Like maybe a bench spot, but I'm not going to be happy to start him from week to week. Maybe a bye week start or an injury, but it's just I'm tired of waiting, and I don't. If I haven't seen it in the past 4 years, because I give him a tight end maybe about 3 years to we can see what he can do. But if you don't do it in that 3-4 years, I'll just let you go.
Yeah, I'm a big fan, unless you didn't notice. But yeah, I've got him ranked to the tight end 1 in Dynasty. I've got him my tight end 11, just purely on upside. The fact that after the first 6 or 7, it is a bit of guesswork. I like the contract, following the money. The offense is pretty terrible, but just following the money. I'm following the talent, the speed, the athleticism. Hopefully, there's some volume there. He's fighting Cooper and David Bell, who are decent guys, but yeah, it was just strange, the fact that it looked like he was on his way out, and then they give him this huge contract. His yards per route went up actually last season, which was nice to see. But yeah, I'm just going for upside on Njoku. I've got a David Njoku stomach tattoo, so yeah, I'm just hoping if it finally breaks out. Second time breakout, by the way.
Yeah, I think it's just like we said earlier, when you get to this range of tight ends, it's kind of just a dart throw. And I mean, David Njoku, I feel like the upside there is one of the most athletic tight ends in the entire NFL. So I feel like if you are just going to take a punt, why not take a punt on a guy that could have that huge upside if everything falls right? But a little bit like Phil said, we've been waiting and we've yet to see it. So I feel like it kind of needs to happen soon. Or I think we're all going to get like Phil. We're all going to get a little bit fed up of waiting on David Njoku. But no, fully appreciate. I think Kev maybe didn't agree with it, but I think tight end 17. I'd probably say that's kind of fair where it is, but it's such a mess at the tight end position. It's too hard to say really, but absolutely love that. And with that, now we're going to move on to the wildcard section. So this is where we're going to get as guests to pick one player that they believe will be their fantasy wildcard. So a guy that's going to improve their dynasty value the most in 2022. So Phil, who's your wildcard selection?
Wildcards. It's for me. I've been talking about him all off season. Once he left the Ravens and went to Arizona, he gets to play with his best friend, as he says, Kyler Murray. Is Hollywood Brown. I think Hollywood Brown is going to have a type of season to where he's going to push for a wide receiver 1 type of year. I think when he was with Baltimore, I think he started getting what's the word I'm looking for? Irritated. Because it's just a run first offense. I think with a guy like him, if he's looking forward to the ball, he will catch the ball majority of the time. But if you running the ball constantly with Lamar Jackson and the other running backs, and you're just running aimlessly down the field and not getting, what you're totally looking for when you got drafted, you kind of get tired of just not doing nothing. You get disinterested. That's where I'm looking for in the offense. He goes to Arizona. There's no DeAndre Hopkins for a little bit due to the suspension, and I think him and Kyler already are clicking in the offseason. They clicked in college. They look great, and I think when Hopkins comes back, I think, to me personally, I think it's gonna be more of a passing the torch type of thing. Hopkins getting a little bit longer in the tooth. He's starting to get like little nagging injuries. And with Hollywood Brown and Kyler, hey, you throw the ball deep, he's going to get open. He got the speed. He has the route running. He can route running the short and intermediate. He's good at that as well. He catch the ball and go. I think with him, with that offense, he can push for, like I said, a wide receiver 1 type of season. And while everybody's looking at him as like a probably like a low end to mid wide receiver 2 on a regular season, he had a whole bunch of targets last year, but they really wasn't efficient targets with the Lamar Jackson, who can be accurate at times. Sometimes he is, sometimes he isn't. Kyler Murray is an accurate short quarterback who can get the ball to him. And if he can get that consistency week to week, I totally love it. And even if DeAndre Hopkins comes back healthy and he plays really, really well, you have to leave one of them open. Which one are you throwing the ball to? Just like pick your poison. Hollywood Brown with one-on-one coverage with DeAndre Hopkins on one side. You have Zach Ertz and you have James Conner in the backfield. you're probably going to double team DeAndre Hopkins because he's going to cook you on 50-50 balls. Or if you throw the ball to Hollywood Brown, he's going to burn you for 75, 80-yard touchdowns. I think they're going to double team DeAndre Hopkins when he comes back because it's a name thing. He's done it for years upon years. We haven't seen Hollywood Brown do it like that consistently. I think we'll see the full potential with the Kyler Murray, and we see what he does that made him a first-round pick. And, I would say get the value on him right now because if after you see it, it's going to be going and he's going to cause way too much. And he's super young still. He's way young. I forget, he is 25. So he has a good, solid, as a speedster wide receiver, he has a solid 3-4 years of production left. With hopefully they sign Kyler Murray. They sign him to a long-term deal, match Kyler Murray with the Hollywood Brown for the rest of their career. Give me that right now.
Yeah, I think you've absolutely nailed that pick. It's like you've read my mind actually on that. Like all your points were just bang on. One of my favourite wildcard selections we've had this year. Only thing I'd add is Lamar Jackson was sort of middle of the pack on the deep ball. Kyler Murray is right up at the top 5 in deep ball. Not saying Hollywood Brown is just a deep ball guy, but if he's hitting just a couple of those big plays per season, 4 or 5 long touchdowns, that's going to pull him up into almost wide receiver 1 range. And the passing of the torch, that's exactly how I see it as well.
Yep. Yeah, and before you say anything, Matt, Christian Kirk had 994 yards, something like that. I would say Hollywood Brown's better than Christian Kirk. So if you just match, just switch those players, Hollywood Brown can have an easy 1,200-yard season, in my opinion.
Yep, no, definitely.
I think that puts you definitely in a wide receiver 1 type situation.
Yeah, like you say, with Hopkins not being there as well to start the year, I feel like Brown can make a real hot start to the season, and then you can probably keep hold of that number 1 option in this offense. As you say, with Hopkins getting up there in age, no more Mark Andrews to compete with. So, yeah, absolutely love this selection, and I wouldn't be shocked at all to see his value take a real big jump over this next year. So absolutely love it. And with that brings us to the end of the show, where we've discussed Phil's undervalued and overvalued players in Dynasty. So Phil, before we do let you get off, is there anything, do you want to let people know where they can find you, anything that you might be working on at the minute?
All right, so you can find me on Twitter at FFPorkman. You can also find me on a Dynasty Rewind. There's content coming out every single day. It's just come look on your phone. I think it's 8:00 in the morning. It's going to pop up. All you gotta do is like and subscribe on there. You'll see Bob's wonderful face and Mike and Chev and Nate and Dan does best ball. We also have a Patreon as the patreon.com/Dynasty Rewind. We have a Discord on there, Discord chat. Talk about anything you want to. I think it's like $1 for the chat. And it's like $5 for all of our rankings. So you can jump on there with that. We're really, really engaging. We got people everywhere engaging, and people from Africa, UK, Australia. And it's a really cool thing that I really love interacting with people because us at Dynasty Rewind see everything as family oriented. There's no dumb questions. And we're not going to give you a dumb answer because, some people are still trying to understand what fantasy is still about all around the world. And that's something that we love to break it down and spam Mike's DMs. He loves that. He doesn't love that. But Mike is a great guy. And he's the founder of the Dynasty Rewind, and he's freaking awesome. So, just join us on this long path that we have. Season starts in September. Preseason, we get to look at all that stuff, and we're going to have all the content that you need out there. And definitely listen to the Fantasy Wildcard.
I appreciate it, and as I say, thanks for coming on, Phil. It's been great talking to you, and we appreciate you giving us this time. So thank you for tuning in. Be sure to subscribe and follow us on Twitter at Fantasy Wildcard. Also, if you can leave us a 5-star review, that'd be great. Just help us get a little bit more exposure out there. And be sure